his children. Reach for the top, regardless. Introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. That ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his tip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education, leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. They ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin.
Great day, leaders. Welcome. The Empowerment Zone PD Cast, week 65, volume 2, number 23. Let's go. How y'all doing? Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate. Happy holidays, season's greetings to you. And with that being said, we still have to be cognizant and empathetic for those that don't celebrate the holidays, that may not be in the holiday spirit, maybe some tragedy or some other experience that they've connected with the holidays, and it causes a dim light on the holidays for them. So we want to always be cognizant of those ideas as well, and try to lift people up. That's all we can do, y'all. So happy holidays, week 65, another milestone. I'm extremely happy, extremely excited to be here with you once again. I think I'm finally adjusting to the Saturdays. As those that have been with us the entire time, or whether you're new or whether you're just coming in, we started out on Sundays, many episodes, very close to 50 on Sunday. So we moved to Saturday here recently, and it's been going really well. So continue to like, continue to share it out, continue to support, continue to help with the algorithm, so thank you all for all of that. You are just really good. Finally adjusted to being here on Saturdays with you, and it's a blessing to be here. So go ahead and start signing in. Let us know where you're streaming in from. Where are you in America or outside of America even? Where are you streaming? Let us know where you're streaming in from. Definitely want to hear from you. Want to be collaborators with you. As always, we got a good PD cast for you. As always, we're going to provide information. We're going to show you and let you know what our topic is, number one, but also we come from the heart. We come from the spirit. We believe in what we do, and we believe in connecting with and empowering people. That's what it's all about, you all. So want you to close out 2025 with a bang. Close it out with a bang. Don't have it any other way but to close it out in excellent fashion. Close it out the way that you need to close it out, so that you can go in 2026 and start it off how you need to start it off. It's not what you don't want to wait until it go ahead and start. You want to already be prepared for it. So get in that mind frame, get in the mind frame of going back and doing what you need to do as educators, as leaders. whether you are in other fields, whatever it is, close out 2025 with a bang. And for those of you that are in education, you know it's school moving time. It's school moving time. It's time to move those schools. The third quarter is what it's all about. You know that you've been through the first semester. You've made some adjustments, but now when you come back, it is school moving time. That's why it's important that we always think about those things that we've been doing. And as always, y'all, before we get into some content, today we're just going to basically kind of reflect so that we can adjust. Volume 2 review, we'll kind of go back through some of the high points, and I'll reference some of the different videos that you can go back to and watch as well. And before we actually get into it, I actually do that once I get to it. So when you think about what we're saying as far as reflecting to adjust, and before we get into that, I always like to start out with a prelude, as you know. And today, recharge for excellence. Recharge for excellence. And in the spirit of Kwanzaa, we know that takes self-determination. And I want to ask you a question. Why do you think sports have halftimes? Why do you think that your top paid, your most prolific athletes take breaks during games or during the events? I ask you that because this is important, because you've got to recharge for excellence. Take a pause does not mean that you stopped. That just means that you're trying to be even sharper. You're trying to be more intentional, more purposeful in those things that you're doing moving forward. So when you recharge for excellence, you just really getting ready to go into another gear. You just really getting ready to move to that next level. So this break, this holiday season, these greetings, these season greetings and all of that, as we come through it, and as we get past it and go into the new year, understand that you're recharging for excellence. Just like the greats. And we use the sports analogy because we live our lives in such a magnificent way. Because we are in charge of how we return, how we show up, what we do every single day, how we compete, how we work, our attitude through all of the things that we go through, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether things that we experience are hurting us, or whether they're empowering us. We're in charge on how we recharge for excellence. So look at that as prep time. Look at reflection as not a stoplight, but as a pause light. Not as one of the red light, but as a yellow light, that you come to the intersection and you pause. Because now I got to think about what has worked. I've got to think about what stretched me to the limit, what did not work even. And then I got to think about what adjustments can be made. So it's a yellow light. It's not a stoplight. So you got to recharge for excellence, first off, in order to be great, in order to show up at your very best continuously over and over again. It's a process. It takes a toll on the body. So when we recharge for excellence, the next thing is to understand that reflection is not a stoplight. It doesn't mean that we're about to stop. It just means that we're getting ready to go even further, to go even harder, as they say. And the third thing on the recharging for excellence, understand that excellence requires you to do maintenance. It requires you to shape up. It requires you to refine yourself. It requires you to look at all of those things like we just mentioned, that what worked and what's not. But then you got to take that feedback, use that excellence to shape up how you're going to move forward. Use the evidence from that feedback to give you the guidance that you need to move forward when you recharge for excellence. That's what it's all about, because remember, the third quarter is where the games are often won. You play half high. A lot of times you right there with the team neck and neck, but then those adjustments that are made at the half, those small things that lead to big results or that change the direction or the trajectory of an event. That's powerful, you all. That's powerful, y'all. So recharge for excellence, and that's our prelude for today, so that you can be ready for what's next. You got to recharge so you can be ready for what's next. And just like those great athletes, just like your great sports team, you got to sit back, take that break, recharge, re-energize, rejuvenate. Refer to that 4R framework that I talk about often. Reflect, review, reframe, and revitalize. Because guess what? If we don't make changes, if we don't make the adjustments, it's just reminiscing. It's just us thinking about what we could do. But when we see those areas for improvement, when we see those areas that can be modified, when we see those areas that we can take away some of those things, that gives us the ability to make those adjustments. So recharge and find yourself ready to go into 2026 on fire, you all, on fire. So one of the things that I wanted to go through, and you all, over the first 65 PD casts, I was doing the numbers, had over about 30 something guests. So about half of the time I had guests with me as well. And I would definitely want to shout some of them out tonight, because, you know, they make us provide a platform that has been very valuable, very useful. So I'm thankful for all of those participants. And like I said, over about 30 some of those shows have been with the guests. So that is awesome in itself. And at the end, I'll make sure to kind of touch back on even the ones that came on that were not even in volume 2. If you know, volume 2 began at the beginning of this school year. Last year, we went first 42 PD casts straight through from August all the way through May, got you through school, took a break for about 5 to 6 weeks with my family, my older parents, and my sons. And then we came back with volume 2, which again started in August. Actually, I think we started the final week in July. So here we are at week 65. And you all, again, it's a blessing. I'm thankful that you all show up, that you participate, that you find value in what we're doing, because it takes a good character to be able to come back each and every day. And we're going to do it because we know that someone is becoming empowered. We know that each week, and I'm about to reference some of the different PD casts, each week we provide solutions that you can use. That's the big difference in one of the trademarks of this particular platform. If you go back through and you start binge watching all the way back from week number 1, we started year before last now because we're on week 65 in volume 2. But if you go all the way back to week number 1, we've prided ourselves on giving solutions that you can use in school improvement. And again, school improvement occurs at your high performance schools. It also needs to occur at your low performance schools. It especially needs to occur at your low performance schools. But keep in mind, even your high performance schools have areas that need to be improved. And we want to constantly always be in a mode of reflection where we can make adjustments moving forward. That's what we do as educators. That's what we do as leaders. And it's crucial to always be in that mode, right? So we want to, again, definitely appreciate you. Coach Dr. Makita Jiva, definitely appreciate you sharing out as always. Calumet City, Illinois, thank you so much. As always, definitely appreciate everything that you do to support, helping with the algorithm, sharing out weekly. We can't thank you enough, because we're going to give some information, and we want those that are able to join to definitely be a part of it each and every week. So we start out with staring into a successful year, and we talked about a lot on this one. We talked about PLC, setting them up to drive your culture. We talked about some cultural initiatives, some organizational initiatives, as well as instructional initiatives. So make sure you go back to week 43. If you're not, that's the beginning of volume 2, but steering into a successful year, because all of those things are still very prevalent right now as you're getting ready to go into semester 2. As you recharge, again, you got to revisit. If we don't revisit, how can we ensure that what we wanted to be implemented is working? I had to take off my glasses. Y'all see that, right? If we don't revisit, if we don't have those feedback loops, if we don't have those multiple conversations, if we don't come back to our different topics, our different ideas, how can we expect them to be implemented with fidelity, right? So we have to make those adjustments in what we're doing. And when we're able to go back, look at some of those and think about what it is that you need to do that could turn the corner right now, because it's school moving time. It's school moving time. You got to be excited about it. You got to be ready to move your schools. And we're talking leaders as well as teachers. It's a collaborative effort. The leaders can't do it alone. The teachers can't do it alone. So you got to always be in a team building mindset, in a team oriented mindset as you steer through the year. That next week, we talked about intentionality plus instruction equal impact. We talked about some go-to strategies. What are you going to be able to go to down the stretch? We talked about implementing at the early part of the school year. But again, even if you have not, you still got time, because it's the third quarter that's going to make the difference. So you could potentially implement high yielding strategies that will have even a bigger boom because of the time of the year that you're using them. You ever heard about the Chinese bamboo tree that stayed underground, but then it shoots to 90 plus feet in the span of 5 months after being underground for 5 years? Same thing here. You've been using your strategies. You've been working on different implementations, but now you can come back in, settle in, get that big boost, that bang for your buck that you need, because again, it's school moving time. In week 45, we talked about the journey of juggling data. Remember that data is your legend. Although it's listed in a ledger, your data is your legend. I'm going to say that again because I needed to really, really sink in, because you're in charge of moving that data. I was blessed where I knew how to watch the data. I looked for trends, the good things as well as the bad things. I was able to make adjustments, be able to even sometimes schedule kids as they needed to progress in the chain so that they can eventually reach proficiency, because you don't want your kids testing and failing. And that's something that you can control if you're watching the data. So the journey of using that data as a flashlight, the journey of actually putting the data in a light where you can use it to help someone grow versus tear them down. And that's whether you're talking about the data of an individual student, even observation and individual feedback data for teachers. Use the data as a flashlight for growth. So we talked about how to juggle that. We talked about those different concepts. We talked about some ways to boost kids mentally, specifically data talks. I even went through on how you want to conduct some of those. So make sure you kind of go back through, revisit some of those things that you know you need to revisit as you get back into your school over this next week or so, because guess what? It's coming. And you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready. We then, Dr. Tiffany Holman Best then blessed the platform with some assistant superintendent perspectives in 46. So make sure you kind of go back to that one as well. We had some great conversations centered around making sure that students have an equity lens driven from the district office in her instance. And we talked about how we can tie that down to our schools as well as push it down to our students over the course of that as well. And then next week, we talked about systemic collaboration across the board. collaboration across the board from level to level, and it being a part of what we do here, a part of our culture, part of our climate, not something that we're just working on this week because we've got to get lesson plans together or because we've got to work on a particular function, but it's what we do all the time. Systemic collaboration. That following week, we talked about with Dr. Braxton Stowe. He came in leading leaders to next levels, and he's over the graduate department at Ole Miss. So we talked about how we're going to lead leaders to next levels and how to align them with what they need so that they can ultimately serve teachers and students at higher levels. All of that was great, great, great information. We then went in with Dr. LaWanda Clark, where we talked about getting mad. We talked about getting mad, making educators move and do. And that was really, really a good PD cast as well. We talked about some different strategies that you can use as far as building up your teams within teams approach and more. So all of that was great information again. And we want to always be able to look back because guess what? It's in the review. The adjustments are in the review. So make sure that you're doing what you need to do as far as making those particular adjustments down the stretch. Now, Dr. Carol Jackson, she came on in week 50, and it was one of our milestone events as well. And we talked about equity-driven leadership. She gave several great strategies, including Throwback Thursday, which is one of her cornerstone strategies that she uses within her school as well. So make sure you kind of go back to week 50 as well. Again, we provide solutions to help you with school improvement. And each of these particular live streams that I'm referencing, we gave multiple solutions that you can actually use in your school. So it's a great time while you're recharging to just put it on play. Put it on play. I promise you, we're going to help you set your school up. If you just dig in, sometimes you have to take some notes so that you can ensure that your implementations have that step-by-step piece that you need to ensure it goes. And then you can always add your flavor. You're going to always add your flavor anyway. But again, in week 50, equity-driven leadership with Dr. Carol Jackson, and she was out of Texas. And of course, Dr. Clark is out of Memphis. Then we talked with brother Josh Tovar and using social media to build culture. He's a social media guru, live streamer as well. I actually be on his live stream tomorrow also. So that was a great PD cast as well. Josh gave several strategies on building culture, including notes to students and things of that nature. So make sure you kind of go back to week 51 also. And culture is nothing but how you live in your school, in your community, in your home. It's what you do every day. It's how we operate here. This is the culture. This is what goes on. So you influence that as educators every single day. The culture does not influence you. You influence the culture. So when you find yourself in situations where the culture maybe isn't what it needs to be, or that the culture has declined from what it used to be, make the adjustments. That's why we're recharging for excellence today. That's why we are here reviewing some of those things that could possibly push you in the right direction. Because I know we pile on information all the time. We give you different philosophies, different strategies, different implementations. But this might be the review that you need to look. I remember I said I was going to go back and pick that up anyway. And now you got some time on your hand. And guess what? You do it. And then you go back and you realize that, wow, this is one of those missing pieces that I needed to move my classroom forward, to move my school forward, to move my district forward. It's that little something that often gets the biggest results. It's that small thing that gives you the maximum success. So we think about those, we keep going. We next came back in week 52, literacy strategies that work, increasing comprehension. Man, we went ham in this one. And as you know, with me loving ELA, with me loving literacy, and with me even diving deeper and going to make sure I've got the science of reading certification and things of that nature, I just love the different literacy strategies that you can implement to create your literacy climate. You create the literacy climate. You create the environment where students are increasing comprehension or are getting the information that they need to increase the comprehension. It's often not that they don't know, it's that they don't know how to maximize it. They don't know how to see the information in multiple formats. They don't know how to comprehend the information in a variety of ways. So as educators, as leaders, we put them in a situation where they can do better, right? We don't complain about where they came from and what they don't know. We put them in situations where they can do better. And using those specific, intentional, purposeful literacy strategies, that's going to help increase the comprehension. So make sure you go back, check that out as well. And we looked at the DIP empowerment principles. Discipline culture plus instructional practice equals performance. DIP, baby, dip, baby, dip. That's one of our trademarks, our cornerstones, because the entire theory is based on collaboration. It's based on knowing that you're self-aware to understand the power of teamwork. It's the power of understanding that I'm including everyone in these decisions, that it impacts us all. It's knowing that the issues that we face, whether they're student to student issues, student to adult issues, or whether they're adult to adult issues, they impact the academic process. They impact instructional practice that teachers are willing and able to use. And when we understand this and we use collaboration as a vehicle to drive us toward increased data, toward better student outcomes, toward an increased SEL motivated environment, we create an environment for success. We create an environment where students flourish, where teachers reach their full capacity. And guess what? Your test scores, they go up automatically when you're doing that. They go up automatically. So balancing all, being able to fight through the uncomfortability of it all, that's what the DIP empowerment is all about. So if you haven't gotten that book, make sure you get DIP Approach for Educators as well. We then had Leadership That Responds with Dr. Tara Payton, Superintendent, Pascagoula Gaucher School District. Definitely dropped gems as well. We move forward with Creating Student-Focused Learning Environments with Carla Jackson. Also gave out of Akron, Ohio. Also gave a lot of different tips that you can use in your school. And that was actually our final guest of the year. And from there, we just talked about some other different topics as far as rallying the troops despite the odds. See, the thing is, and I gave specific strategies that you can use to help rally the troops. So make sure you go back through the playlist, pick those ones that cater to what you need, or just go through them all and binge watch them. Binge watch them, because I promise you, you're going to be a better leader. You're going to be able to better help teachers. Teachers will be better instructors, and then therefore you ultimately going to have better students just by taking in the information, soaking it in information, and then putting the information to work. So rallying those troops, keeping everyone emotionally engaged. Y'all, that's a task. That's something that has to be intentional. That's something that has to be purposeful as well. You can't take your foot off the gas when you're keeping everyone engaged. When you're running a ship where everyone is moving toward our destination, you got to be aware when someone slacks. You got to be aware when things slow down, when the momentum is not moving at the pace that it once was. And then you have to make an enhancement, make those adjustments, right? That's crucial, you all. Then we talked about improving literacy rates. A lot of different literacy strategies and implementations that we use here as well. Normalizing literacy, having the will to grow others, patience, love, other leadership principles that we talked about, and how we wanted to implement them. So again, volume 2, you all, has been really, really good. We only have a couple left that we're going to talk about here, but critical skill building. As you know, we got the critical skills mastery workbooks that we've completed, 2 through 7. Of course, we're going to have the 8 through 12 as well. And we also have the kindergarten through first grade, but the 2 through 7 is complete. And you all, this is going to be a game changer because we have these big curriculums and the kids don't have the skills necessary to execute them. And we found a major gap in being able to provide what students need to help empower them to get over the hump. Because now if I can pull it out singularly or individually, I have a better chance of being able to pull it out when I see it within the scope of a variety of objectives, if that makes sense for you. So just continue to think about that. And if you have not seen that one, go back and see it. Critical skill building. Then we looked at all year-long test prep strategies. Y'all, this is powerful, you all. We gave year-long test prep strategies that you can go back and kind of reference over the course of this next third quarter and fourth quarter. Start implementing them if you haven't already. That's why it's already out there so that you can kind of go back to it, pull it up, see what you can use, and use it to benefit you and your students, you and your teachers, you and your school community. So year-long test prep strategies. We then moved into skills, school initiatives that supercharged. Some school initiatives that supercharged. Gave you some different school initiatives, including a study skills initiative and more. Actually put it up so that you could screenshot if you needed to, because I know that's what we do sometimes, and that's fine. That's why I put it up there so that you can use it to empower your school, because we can't hoard information. That's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest fears that as educators that we have to get past and get over, because number one, hoarding information, first off, you can't empower others hoarding information. Secondly, you're holding people back by hoarding information. And if we're in the business of helping, we're in the business of giving everything that we got to our profession, to the schools that we serve, even the schools that you don't serve, you got a broader obligation to be the best educators. So if we got information that people can use, we owe it to ourselves and to the world to ensure that they get an opportunity to use it. Because you never know who's missing what. You never know what scaffold they need to bridge the gap between leadership and their literacy procedures that they have going on campus, or that they need just period so they could be a better human being even. Because you got to realize that putting out this kind of information, you're always in retrospect. You're always in an area of where you're becoming more and more self-aware, and what you put out is what you often get back. So understand that we owe it to ourselves as educators to ensure that we stop hoarding this information and help those that are in the school communities that we serve, as well as those that are in surrounding areas around us and ultimately globally. Because we're supposed to be humanitarians. We're not supposed to be selfish. We're not supposed to be holding up. We're supposed to be giving. And the ultimate gift to give is information, because I can now take the information and do what I need to do to be successful. That's the power of empowerment, you all. And we then push forward to maintaining mindset, rest to reset. Just last week, rest to reset. Right? Being able to see beyond the marker. Rest to reset. Let that sink in. You're not resting so that you can be asleep forever, or so that you can just sit down and not move forward. You're resting to reset, so you go harder, stronger than you have before, right? And then, of course, today we talked about reflecting to adjust, and that's different from resting to reset. Now you're reflecting to adjust. I'm looking back over all these things so that we can make adjustments. That's why we just we just modeled reflection, because we went back through volume 2, right? We went through volume 2. We definitely appreciated all of those guests that we had, including ones from last year that led into this year. I'm going to do a quick roll call because I can't thank them enough. Over the 65 PD cast, again, we've had 30-some different guests. So with that in mind, I want to give a couple of them a little shout, right? Why not? And I've shouted out the others already that were on, but because they were on volume 2 when I went over that particular PD cast. But Create and Educate, definitely appreciate you, Dr. Houston, Dr. Taylor, Robert Curtin, Dr. Curtin, Dr. O'Nay Chapman, Dr. Jerry Anderson, Dr. Troy Watts, Dr. Sabina Turner, Dr. Tiffany Holman Best. And I mentioned those that were in on volume 2. But I want to go back a little bit further. Ronald Real Jackson, appreciate you, brother. Nola Mason out in Georgia. And of course, Real is out there in California. He's out here in California. Brother Kevin Conley, Tennessee. Ashley Green, Mississippi. Shakira Brown, California. Will Wade, Georgia. Memory Bender, Texas. Brother Plump, Alabama. DJ Inspires, California. Brother Marvin Lowe, Dr. Marvin Lowe, Alabama. Superintendent Harris over in Georgia. Brother Cedric Richardson, Mississippi and Tennessee. So again, I called out over 30 of them today just in the show. But again, we just got to keep going. We got to keep going. We got to keep going. We got to normalize excellence. We got to normalize pushing ourselves to the limit. We got to normalize the possibility of achieving the impossible. We got to normalize it because that's what the belief sets in. When you realize that you are in charge of your thoughts and belief, fear start to disappear. That was the Saddest Soul Songs today, y'all. So I don't know if you follow me or not on Facebook, Instagram, but that was the Soul Song. When you realize that you are in control of your thoughts and your beliefs, fears start to disappear. You're no longer afraid of the critics. You're no longer to jump out and give it your best shot because you worry about what somebody's going to say. Now you become unoffendable. You become unirritable. You can't irritate a person when they're at their highest level of humility. That's something to think about because it's not about them. It becomes about the empowerment of others. It becomes about constantly giving so that you can connect. And that's the difference you are. And it's a powerful thing when you get to that point, you start to realize it because it doesn't take money to get there. It doesn't take anything other than self-actualization and realizing that, wow, we are really in charge of our moves, our thoughts, our beliefs. We turn those into visions. We turn them into plans. We turn them into goals. And then we go after those results. And whether the results come out in a favor or whether they come out in another favor, in another way, you got something that you can work with and something that you can make adjustments and then continue to recharge so that you can be excellent. Recharge for excellence and reflect to adjust. Y'all, it's courage. That's courage and seeing beyond the mark. So with that being said, we are preparing to close out for the 2025 year. Yeah. We did it. Week 65. It's another milestone. Y'all, like, I appreciate you. I appreciate you because, we got a lot of content. We got a lot of information to give. But if I didn't see you watching every week, if I didn't see that you were actually paying attention, that you were showing me love, and you appreciate the love I try to show by feeding, by bringing on people, y'all, we wouldn't keep doing it, but because of the progress, because we know that we have educators who listen, because we know that it's important to keep showing up no matter what you're doing in life. Quitters never win in the end. So you got to understand what it's all about and what you got to continue to put in. You got to continue to put in. You got to put in. So as we prepare to close out, I want to just ask that you continue to love, live, and learn with your heart. Continue to search for wisdom so that you can work in and find your true purpose. And then continue to be courageous so that you can drown out all fear. And when you drown out that fear, you take on a different level on the inside of you. Peace and love, y'all. Have the best rest of the year. Close it out strong. 2026, we coming for you, baby. Let's go.